All right, so today we're going to dive into UK construction.
Yeah, it's a fascinating industry, always sort of building, always evolving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right now they're facing some pretty big questions about what the future holds.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, luckily, we've got two fresh articles from Construction Index to help us unpack all of that.
Both from October 28th, 2024.
Yep, hot off of the press.
So they paint this picture of an industry at a crossroads.
And one of the articles is all about the CPA.
That's the Construction Products Association.
Yeah, for anyone who's not familiar.
Right, and they've released their latest growth forecasts.
Then the other article.
That one focuses on what they're calling a demographic crisis.
A crisis that could have a ripple effect far beyond those construction sites,
Oh, for sure.
impacting everything from housing costs to the pace of the UK's economic recovery.
Right, it's all connected.
So let's start with the good news first, because there is some.
Oh, yeah.
The CPA is actually feeling pretty optimistic.
They're predicting a comeback for the sector.
After a predicted 2.9% dip this year.
Right, they're forecasting a 2.5% rise in output in 2025
Okay.
and a 3.8% jump in 2026.
Wow, that's significant.
Yeah, and it's actually an upward revision from just 3 months ago.
Interesting. So they're even more optimistic than they were just a little while ago.
Exactly.
So what's driving this change in their outlook?
Well, it seems the housing market is a big factor.
Okay, so people are buying houses again?
Well, they're anticipating a strong rebound.
Oh, I see.
They say it's fueled by falling interest and mortgage rates.
Which makes sense. Lower rates mean more people can afford to buy.
Exactly, and that means higher demand for new builds.
So those for sale signs are about to become sold signs.
Well, we'll have to see how it plays out, of course.
Right, of course.
But the CPA is predicting 8% growth in new builds in 2025 and another 7% in 2026.
After that 9% dip this year,
Right.
that's a pretty impressive turnaround.
It is.
And it's not just about new homes, is it? What
Yeah.
about those folks who are already settled in but looking to fix up their places?
You mean RMI?
Yeah, repair, maintenance, and improvement.
Exactly. And that's projected to grow too.
By how much?
3% in 2025 and 4% in 2026.
So it's a good time to be in the renovation business.
Seems like it.
What's driving that trend? I mean, is it just people wanting to keep up with the Joneses?
There's that, sure, but the CPA also points to a shift in spending towards energy efficiency upgrades and solar installations.
That makes sense with energy prices being what they are.
Right. People are looking to save money where they can.
And going green is a good way to do it.
Absolutely. It's a win-win.
Lower bills and a smaller carbon footprint.
Now, while the housing market is looking pretty sunny,
Right.
the picture for infrastructure is a bit more, well, nuanced.
What's the CPA saying about that?
Well, they're projecting growth there too, 1.6% in 2025 and 3.8% in 2026,
Okay.
after a slight dip this year.
And of course, we've got those mega projects like Hinkley Point C and HS2 still going strong.
Right, providing a steady stream of work.
Those are some massive undertakings.
Well, they are. The scale of those projects is just mind-boggling.
But there are some potential issues on the horizon, right?
Well, the CPA is raising some concerns about cost overruns.
Which isn't all that surprising.
No, not with projects that complex.
Any little hiccup could send costs skyrocketing.
Right, and when you're dealing with billions of pounds?
Those overruns can be massive.
Exactly.
And that makes me worry about potential delays.
It's definitely something to watch out for.
Or even projects being shelved altogether.
Yeah, that's a possibility.
And then there's the issue of government spending.
Right, because the UK government is the biggest client in the construction industry.
Accounting for almost a quarter of all projects.
That's right. So what the government does with its budget has a huge impact.
And right now, there's all this talk about potential cuts to infrastructure spending.
There is?
But why would they cut spending when the CPA is forecasting growth?
Well, government finances are complicated.
That's one way to put it.
There are concerns about the deficit and the national debt.
Right. Always.
And some people argue that cutting capital expenditure, which includes infrastructure, is a way to get those costs under control.
So it's a balancing act for the government.
It is trying to stimulate growth while also keeping the national checkbook balanced.
What's the CPA's take on all of this? Are they worried?
They are. They're saying that if these cuts go through, it could really hurt the construction industry's recovery.
That's so.
Delays, cancellations, a chilling effect on private investment.
Not a pretty picture.
Not at all.
So we've got this sort of push and pull, right? Positive growth projections on one hand, but the threat of government cutbacks on the other.
It's like the industry is holding its breath.
Waiting to see which way the wind will blow.
And that's just one part of the story. We also have that demographic crisis looming.
Right. We can't forget about that.
No, it's a big one.
So let's talk about that.
Oh.
What exactly is this crisis?
Basically, the UK construction industry is facing a major shortage of skilled workers.
Okay, we've heard a little about this,
It's been a problem for years.
but it sounds like it's getting worse.
It is. The CPA is calling it the biggest threat to the sector's future.
Wow, that's alarming.
It is.
How did we get to this point?
Well, there are a few factors at play.
Like what?
First, the workforce is getting older.
Makes sense. People retire.
Right. And there aren't enough young people coming in to replace them.
So it's like a generational gap.
Exactly.
And it's not just about the number of workers.
Right. It's about experience, too.
You can't just replace a master bricklayer with someone fresh out of school.
Exactly. It takes years to develop that level of expertise.
So what's stopping young people from pursuing careers in construction?
I think part of it is the perception problem.
What do you mean?
Well, construction often gets a bad rap.
You mean like it's dangerous or dirty?
Yeah, and that it's low paying.
Those are pretty outdated stereotypes.
They are, but they stick around.
And unfortunately, they keep a lot of talented young people from even considering construction. So it's not just a skill shortage, it's an image problem too.
Right.
And that's a tough one to solve.
It is.
So we've got this industry poised for growth with new jobs and improved infrastructure and a stronger economy potentially.
Yeah.
But this ticking time bomb of a skill shortage could derail it all.
It could.
Can the industry attract and train enough skilled workers before it's too late?
That's the question, isn't it?
It's a nail biter, that's for sure.
It is, and it's a story that's going to impact all of us in some way.
Whether we work in construction or not. It's easy to forget that sometimes when we're talking about these big economic trends.
Right.
But it's the human stories that matter.
Absolutely. And speaking of human stories,
Yeah.
let's circle back to that demographic crisis for a minute.
Okay.
It's not just an abstract problem.
No, it's affecting real people right now.
It is, and the CPA report talks about the financial strain that a lot of construction workers are facing right now.
Like what kind of strain?
High costs, project delays, the pressure of working on these fixed price contracts.
Fixed price contracts? I'm not familiar with that term.
Oh, so basically imagine you're a contractor
Okay.
and you agree to build something, let's say a house, for a certain price.
Right.
But then while you're building it, the cost of materials goes up.
Or there are delays.
Exactly. But with a fixed price contract, you're still on the hook to finish the project for that original price.
Even if it means losing money.
Yeah, sometimes.
That sounds risky.
It can be, especially in a market like this.
So volatile.
Right. And it's often the subcontractors who get hit the hardest.
How so?
They're the ones working with the smallest margins, and they don't have a lot of bargaining power.
So it's like a ripple effect. The pressure at the top trickles down.
Exactly.
And this financial strain is leading to something else too, right?
Yeah, a lot of construction firms are going out of business.
The report mentioned that.
It did. Over 10,000 firms have closed down in the last 2 years.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. It's a huge loss, not just in terms of jobs.
But in expertise and capacity too. So
Wow.
it's like a double whammy.
Right.
Fewer workers and fewer companies. It's a tough situation.
So what can be done to fix this skills shortage? How do we attract and keep talent in construction?
Well, the CPA report actually offers a few suggestions.
Okay, like what?
Well, first off, they say we need to change perceptions.
Get rid of those stereotypes.
Yeah, exactly.
We were talking about this earlier.
Right, we need to showcase the modern face of construction, the technology, the innovation, all the different career paths.
And I think we need to do a better job of talking about how much these jobs pay.
Absolutely, and the impact they have on society.
It's about highlighting the pride, the craftsmanship,
Right.
the fact that these people are literally building the world around us.
Well said.
And it's not just about bringing in new people.
No, it's also about investing in training.
For the people who are already working in construction.
Exactly. Help them keep their skills sharp and adapt to the changing demands.
And that's where technology comes in.
Right. Remember all those advancements we talked about?
Digital modeling, off-site construction.
Yep, all that.
Automate. Those are transforming the industry.
And creating all sorts of new opportunities for skilled workers.
Exactly. So it's not about replacing human workers.
It's about giving them new skills.
Right.
Yeah.
And making the industry more efficient and sustainable.
Okay, so change perceptions, invest in training, embrace technology, anything else?
Well, the CPA also says that we need more collaboration.
All right.
Because the construction industry is pretty fragmented.
What do you mean by that?
Well, lots of different players, often working in silos.
It's a complex ecosystem
It is, but the CPA says we need better communication and coordination.
between the clients, the contractors, the subcontractors.
Right. Everyone involved.
So less finger pointing and more teamwork.
Exactly. And they think technology can help here, too,
How so?
by creating platforms for sharing information, streamlining workflows.
So technology is about more than just robots and drones.
Right. It's about helping people work together more effectively.
And of course, the CPA also stresses the importance of government support.
They do. They're calling for policies that encourage investment in training and innovation.
And a stable regulatory environment.
Right. Predictability is important for businesses.
So the industry is asking a lot from the government.
They are, but they're making a strong case for why it's important to support construction.
Because a strong construction industry means a strong economy.
Right. More jobs, a better quality of life for everyone.
So it's about more than just bricks and mortar.
Exactly. It's about building a better future for all of us.
It's interesting, as we're talking about this, I'm struck by how these two articles really show how interconnected everything is.
In what way?
Well, all the challenges facing the UK construction industry, economic pressures, the skill shortages, the technological disruptions,
Yeah,
these are all the things that are happening all over the world.
that's true.
It's like a global story playing out on a local stage
Right. And it makes me think about how important it is to share knowledge.
and learn from each other.
Exactly. What can the UK learn from other countries? And what can other countries learn from the UK?
It's like we're all in this together, trying to figure it all out.
We are, and that's what I find so fascinating about these deep dives.
What do you mean?
Well, they're not just about understanding one industry or one issue.
Right.
It's about making connections, seeing the bigger picture.
And hopefully finding some solutions,
Absolutely.
even small ones.
Because we can all make a difference.
It's an industry facing a lot of uncertainty,
A lot of change.
but it's also an industry with a lot of potential.
And a lot of heart.
And that's what makes it so exciting to watch.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see what the future holds.
Well, that's all the time we have for today.
Thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure to dive into these topics.
It's been great having you here, and thanks to all of you for listening to this deep dive into the UK construction industry.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.
We hope you found it informative and engaging, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive into a different corner of the world.